My name is Natalie Harper. I'm 32 years old, and for most of my adult life, I believed stability was the same thing as happiness. Not joy, not passion, just stability, the kind that lets you plan a week ahead without anxiety, the kind that makes silence feel safe instead of heavy. My life wasn't glamorous, but it was predictable, and predictability had always been my comfort. I worked in financial consulting, long hours, relentless deadlines, Excel sheets that revealed truths people didn't want to hear. It was demanding, but it paid well, and more importantly, it rewarded clarity. Numbers don't get defensive, they don't manipulate, they don't gaslight you into questioning your own logic. People do. I'd been dating Ethan Brooks for about 14 months. We met at a mutual friend's summer barbecue, cheap beer, burnt burgers, plastic lawn chairs sinking into grass that hadn't been mowed properly. One of those evenings where laughter came easily and no one was trying too hard to impress. Ethan stood out without demanding attention. He was observant, quick-witted, warm in a way that felt natural. He worked in marketing strategy and spoke about brands with the same focus I used when analyzing balance sheets. At the time, I thought we complemented each other, logic and creativity, structure and charm. We moved in together after 10 months. Looking back, that should have scared me, but it didn't. It felt like momentum, like the next reasonable step. Ethan had a close-knit group of friends from college, 5 women, all late 20s to early 30s, confident, stylish, effortlessly put together. They'd been through breakups, career shifts, cross-country moves, together. They called themselves the Coven. Ethan said it jokingly, like it was cute, like it was harmless. At first, I believed him. I'd met them a few times, birthday dinners, engagement parties, one painfully awkward game night where I felt like I was borrowing someone else's seat at the table. They were always polite, always smiling. But the smiles never quite reached their eyes. Compliments came late and landed wrong. "Oh, you're brave to wear that. You're still at that firm?" I could never work those hours. Every comment was wrapped in silk and lined with glass. I told myself I was imagining it, that they were just protective, that friend groups are territorial by nature. But then I noticed something else. Whenever Ethan came home after spending time with them, something about him shifted. He wasn't angry, he wasn't cold, just altered, like someone had adjusted his settings without telling me. He'd comment on my clothes, suggest I relax about work, ask why I still spent time on hobbies that weren't productive. Once, he asked, half joking, half serious, why I wasn't more ambitious, like the girls. That was the first time a knot formed in my chest. When I mentioned it, gently, he laughed it off. "You're reading too much into it," he said. "They're blunt. That's how they show affection." I let it go. I shouldn't have. Then came Friday night. Ethan told me the Coven wanted to have dinner downtown at Milo's, one of those upscale Italian restaurants with low lighting, heavy menus, and prices that quietly dare you to complain. He asked if I wanted to come. I said yes. Part of me hoped exposure would fix things, that familiarity would soften whatever edge they had toward me, that maybe, finally, they'd see me as more than Ethan's temporary attachment. That hope was my mistake. We arrived just after 7 p.m. The reservation was under Samantha Reed's name, the unofficial leader. She worked in tech, spoke like she was always presenting to a boardroom, and had the kind of confidence that made other people instinctively defer. The table was already half full. Samantha, Lauren, Mia, Jenna, Olivia was running late. As soon as I sat down, the energy changed. Samantha glanced up and smiled tightly. "Oh," she said, "you came. How nice." Ethan either didn't notice, or didn't care. He slid into his seat and immediately joined a conversation with Lauren, laughing easily, like the tension wasn't choking the air. I ordered a beer, tried small talk. Responses were clipped. Phones came out mid-sentence. Eye contact floated right past me. When Olivia finally arrived, 20 minutes late, she hugged everyone at the table. Everyone except me. Wine bottles appeared, then another. Ethan was on his second glass before the appetizers were cleared, laughing louder with every sip. That's when it started. "So," Samantha said casually, swirling her wine, eyes fixed on me. Ethan says you're still at the same firm you were at when you met. No promotions yet? Her tone was sweet, curious, surgical. I got a raise last year, I replied calmly. I'm happy where I am. A raise? She echoed, amused. That's adorable. Ethan didn't react, didn't defend me, didn't even look at me. The comments kept coming, subtle, steady, relentless. My work ethic, my hobbies, my lifestyle. By the time entrees arrived, my face hurt from smiling. My chest felt tight. This wasn't teasing. It was an audition I was failing on purpose. When the check finally landed on the table, $847, I already knew the night was over. Ethan leaned in, his voice low. If their jokes bother you, he said, you can leave, just pay your share. I smiled. That smile cost me nothing. It was the last thing I ever gave him for free. I didn't cry when I got home. I didn't slam doors or scream into pillows. I packed. Quietly, methodically, like I was auditing a life that no longer made sense. The apartment smelled like Ethan's favorite candle, cedar and something too sweet. I filled a duffel bag, clothes, laptop, essentials. My hands paused when I saw his hoodie on the chair, the one I used to steal on cold mornings. 2 seconds. Then I shoved it aside. Because Friday night hadn't created anything. It had revealed everything. I slept that night without my phone on. The next morning, it buzzed nonstop. 23 missed calls. Text after text. You embarrassed me. This is insane. Answer your phone. Not once did he ask if I was okay. That told me everything. And when he finally said, you left me to cover your portion, something inside me locked into place. I wasn't heartbroken. I was done. By Monday morning, I knew one thing for certain. Friday night wasn't the end of my relationship. It was the moment I stopped pretending I belonged in a room that had already decided I didn't. And when Olivia texted me asking for coffee, that's when I realized the story wasn't finished yet. Not even close. Because curiosity has always been my weakest vice, not the loud kind, the quiet kind that convinces you knowledge is safer than ignorance. That's how I ended up agreeing to meet Olivia. We met on Tuesday evening at a Starbucks a few blocks from my office. It was one of those locations designed for short visits, hard chairs, bright lighting, no sense of comfort meant to keep you lingering. Olivia was already there when I arrived, sitting stiffly at a corner table, both hands wrapped around a paper cup like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. She didn't look smug. She didn't look amused. She looked uneasy. I ordered a black coffee, sat across from her, and waited. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Olivia inhaled sharply, like she'd been holding her breath since Friday night. I felt really bad about what happened, she said. I didn't soften. I didn't reassure her. I just nodded. Okay. Samantha can be a lot. Olivia continued, eyes flicking briefly toward the window. And when Ethan's around her, he changes. My stomach tightened, not from surprise, but confirmation. I'd noticed it too, the way Ethan's personality bent around Samantha like metal drawn to a magnet. That doesn't excuse it, I said evenly. I know. Olivia rushed. I'm not defending them. She paused, swallowing. I wanted you to know I thought the way they treated you was messed up. I studied her face carefully. Then the question slipped out sharper than I meant it to. Then why didn't you say anything? Her jaw tightened. Because I'm a coward, she said quietly. Because if I stood up for you, they would have turned on me. That's how it works. A chill crept up my spine. You're either in, she whispered, or you're out. I leaned back, letting that sentence settle. That's toxic, I said. Olivia nodded once. It is, and I've been thinking about distancing myself for a while. Friday just made it undeniable. I held her gaze. So why tell me now? She finally met my eyes fully, her expression serious. Because Ethan is telling everyone you lost it over nothing, she said, that you stormed out and left him stranded. She hesitated. And because he posted something. My stomach dropped. Posted what? Instagram, Sunday night, vague, but obvious. She slid her phone across the table. I didn't want to look. I did anyway. It was Ethan's post, carefully worded, deliberately vague. No names, no specifics, just enough moral superiority to let strangers fill in the blanks. Something about learning people's true character over something small. The comment section was worse. Cheap. Immature. Unstable. A walking red flag. My hands shook as I scrolled. The cruelty wasn't accidental. It was encouraged. He hadn't defended me. He hadn't corrected anyone. He'd let the story grow teeth. The worst part wasn't the judgment, it was the intent behind it. Ethan wasn't confused. He wasn't hurt. He was constructing a narrative. A version where I was unreasonable so he could remain blameless. I handed Olivia her phone back slowly. "Thank you," I said, my voice controlled. She nodded, relief flickering across her face. "I thought you should know." I walked out, sat in my car, and gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt. What settled in my gut wasn't sadness. It was resolve. Because Ethan hadn't just failed me at dinner, he'd betrayed me after, when it was easiest to tell the truth and hardest to do the right thing. If I stayed quiet, his version would become reality. So I went home and opened my laptop. I didn't write a rant. I didn't write revenge fanfiction. I wrote the truth, clean, precise, impossible to distort if read honestly. That night, sitting on the edge of the guest bed at Chris and Amy's, I balanced my laptop on my knees. The room was lit by a single lamp that made everything feel intimate and exposed. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Silence had always been my instinct. It was safer, cleaner, less exhausting than confronting people who preferred lies that preserved their comfort. But then I remembered Ethan's post, the comments, the way he'd liked a few of them. And something inside me hardened. I typed. I described the dinner, the subtle digs, the escalation, the 3 bottles of wine, the expectation that I subsidize mockery, Ethan whispering in my ear, "Leave, just pay your share." Then I ended with one sentence. "Know your worth. Don't let anyone treat you like an ATM while they laugh at you." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I hit post. The anxiety hit immediately, sharp and nauseating, but I didn't delete it. When I checked my phone minutes later, it was already flooding with notifications, messages from coworkers, old classmates, even acquaintances I barely remembered. The reactions were unanimous. "That's not joking, that's bullying. He failed you. You did the right thing." They wanted a sponsor, not a partner. Validation wasn't my goal, but it was clarifying. An hour later, my phone rang. "Ethan. What the hell is wrong with you?" he snapped. "You posted first," I said calmly. "I told the truth." "You're ruining my life." "If the truth ruins your image," I replied, "your image was built on a lie." Then the messages from the coven came, rapid, coordinated, cruel. And when Samantha told me I should be grateful Ethan tolerated me, something in me shut the door permanently. I blocked them all. 2 days later, I returned to the apartment while Ethan was supposed to be at work. I packed quietly, efficiently. And when Ethan walked in early and found me mid-box, the confrontation was brief, final, and honest. "I'm leaving over what that dinner revealed," I told him. When he said he loved me, I realized love without respect isn't love. It's ownership. I left my keys, I left a note, I left without drama. And I didn't look back. 6 weeks later, my life is quieter. Not empty. Not lonely. Just still. And for the first time in a long time, that silence feels earned.